Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of the Cradle News Roundup coming to you live. My name is Esteban Carrillo. I am news editor for The Cradle, and as usual, I'm joined by my friends and colleagues, content creator and writer for The Cradle, Karim Shami, and content creator and social media manager for The Cradle, Sima Itaim. And as usual, just before we start, please make sure to hit that like button as soon as you arrive, leave a comment, check out our memberships, check out our to subscribe to our channel, and check out our Patreon, where you can become a direct supporter of the Cradle. And as is always the case here, we should start talking about the situation in Gaza, and in particular, revelations from Sky News investigation that identified four different Palestinian militias that are operating in opposition to Hamas along in Israeli controlled areas along the so called Yellow Line under the Trump ceasefire map. This is not just Israel supporting the militias; it's also Arab nations, in particular. I would imagine is I think it's the UAE, as part of this push to disarm Hamas to create New Gaza, known as Project New Gaza. I forgot about that name. In any case, guys, what is this? What is exactly happening, and what is the aim here from this Project New Gaza?
Right. So the reason we found this exclusive investigation by Sky News so important is because it talks about four militias, confirms that there are four militias and not just the two that we were discussing previously, which is Yasser Abu Shabab in Rafah and Hussam al Astal in Khan Yunis. So they are all working towards one project called the New Gaza. And they are, again, like you said, Esteban, they are operating from areas behind the yellow line. So in Israel, all in Israel controlled territory, the yellow line as per Donald Trump's ceasefire plan, that withdrawal line. Karim, if you could pull up the map that we have. So basically, their declared goal is to weaken and oust Hamas from power and form this like nucleus, like a new governing structure in Gaza under Israeli and foreign sponsorship. And another telling thing about this investigation, which I'll get into in a second, is like you mentioned, the UAE's role, which we had an idea about before, but there's some more concrete evidence that we have now. So the four main militia leaders are Hussam al-Astal, who we've discussed before. He used to work in the PA security services. He's a Bedouin Palestinian with links to the PA. Yasser Abu Shabab is a smuggler and militia leader based in Rafah. Rami Hallis, I think it's Hallis, either Halas or Hallis, also affiliated with Fatah, is also one of the militia leaders. And the fourth is Ashraf al Mansi, who commands what's known as the People's Army in the north. So Rami and Ashraf are both in the north. And then you have Hussam al Astal and Yasser Abu Shabab in the south. So Hussam al Astal, told Sky News straight out, we have an official project, me, Abu Shabab, Halis, and Al Mansi, and we are all for the new Gaza, and we will soon achieve full control of Gaza and gather under one umbrella. All of their headquarters are in very close proximity to Israeli occupation outposts, like a few hundred meters away. Like, for example, in Khan Yunis, Hussam al Astal's base is less than 700 meters away from an Israeli army position. And he openly admits that there's an understanding. We don't target them, they don't target us. They do get weapons from Israel because Israel has previously confirmed that. But according to this new investigation, they also find rifles on the black market from former Hamas fighters. But most importantly of all, supplies like goods to give to the people in those areas and vehicles and ammunition all come through the Kerem Abu Salim crossing, the Kerem Shalom crossing, as they call it, coordinated directly with Israel. Israel, again, has previously confirmed that they also arm Hussam al-Astal and Yasser Abu Shabab's militias. So Abu Shabab has around 2,000 fighters, and he uses these smuggling networks, and he also uses car dealers to bring in vehicles. So what makes the story significant is that, again, the UAE, there have been a lot of photos emerging of vehicles with UAE license plates.
Hmm.
And another thing is also, Kerry, maybe you could show us on the investigation logos used by at least two of these militias in Gaza are nearly identical to those of UAE backed armed groups in Yemen, like literally almost identical, like the same illustration, just with a little bit difference in the some of the graphic elements and the embellishments. And when he was asked, Hussam al Astal, directly about Arab support. He hinted at Arab support. He was like, "Oh, God willing, in time everything will become clear." But yes, Arab countries are supporting our project. There's also an indirect Palestinian Authority connection. Okay. He Hossam al-Astal, again the Khan Yunis militia leader, he openly said that many members of his militia are still on the Palestinian Authority payroll, even though Ramallah officially denies any involvement. And so coordination between these militias and Israeli forces also goes through the District Coordination Office, which is an Israeli mechanism that includes both PA officials and Israeli officials. So this whole new Gaza project, it isn't happening in like a vacuum. Obviously, it ties
Mhm.
into this broader U.S.-Israeli plan that the Wall Street Journal reported on last week to split Gaza in two. So, according to that report, they want to divide Gaza into two zones. One is basically under Israeli control, so that's where these gangs are, and one under Hamas in an attempt to, one of the reasons to isolate and weaken Hamas, obviously, because reconstruction funds would only be directed to the Israeli held safe zone, quote unquote, which currently covers more than half of Gaza's territory under this new ceasefire map. And Jared Kushner, and JD Vance presented this as the foundation for building a new Gaza. They also called it a new Gaza. And this is, again, it's all falls in line with each other. And so basically, this new Gaza would be the area where Palestinians could go work and live, and so that would be the prosperous part where all the opportunities are. And but he says, oh, that could only happen once Hamas is disarmed.
It's
Mind you, they
interesting.
haven't moved on to the second phase of negotiations yet, and they don't know how they will disarm Hamas yet. Sorry for cutting you off.
No, it's okay. I was just gonna say it's interesting that a few days ago, Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff gave this interview to 60 Minutes, in which, first of all, Witkoff kind of let the cat out of the bag when he said the master plan that Jared's been working on for the past 2 years, to the complete
Yes.
dismay of Jared Kushner. And then
Yeah, he
I
looked
think he was doing.
horrified.
He was completely horrified, and then in that same interview, Jared Kushner said that what you just said, Sima, which is there's a safe Gaza, and then there's a non-safe Gaza. Now I'm paraphrasing. That wasn't his exact quote, but that was the sentiment behind it. And it's obvious that is this attempt at uh, giving these militias an area to control as a project, right? Like Julani in Syria, or like the Al Qaeda militias in the UAE militias in Yemen, etc. Like some sort of Arab Palestinian collaborating force that would actually be prosperous, as opposed, to the
Hmm.
to the to the animals
Hmm.
who back the resistance. And that's not my thinking. Obviously, it's just how they
Yeah.
see us, all of us. Karim,
Right.
what do you make about these militias? What do you make about what this means for phase two of the ceasefire? Do you think we're actually going to reach phase two?
And everything is expected. We might reach it and we might not, but at least if they want to reach it, I think they have like this time to try to control as much as they can. And this is not new in the Arab world, unfortunately. The same can be was applied in Somal. The same was applied in Sudan. You see factions that are backed by the Gulf countries, and especially UAE, trying to take control of land so they can pressure other parties or other leaders in the negotiation table, and that's what they are doing. I think they are trying to gain momentum and gain as much land as they can. Although we know that Israel withdrew and they couldn't accomplish all this their main points in Gaza. Maybe Gazans that are working with UAE and Israel might accomplish it. That's how they think. Or there's another part which say they want Gaza to remain in chaos. Yani for instance, if these persists, because we also know that Hamas and these gangs are also fighting. Yani maybe tomorrow an Israeli soldier يعني will be killed or a rocket will be launched toward Israel, and Netanyahu will tell Trump, look, I told you they are not good for negotiations, and he will continue. يعني there's many scenarios of what's happening in Gaza currently. And of course, they did this also in Lebanon. يعني in Lebanon, I remember even not long ago in 2009, there was nothing in Lebanon, and suddenly Saudi Arabia and UAE like armed some gangs, brought some unemployed Syrians to Lebanon, and they wanted to fight Hezbollah, and eventually they fought each other.
Mm. I
Yeah,
mean,
no,
look, the gangs are we don't know what the outcome will be with the gangs, but I just commenting on the ceasefire, like a lot of Israeli operations, quote unquote, continue as normal even within the ceasefire. Keep in mind, just a few days ago, Israeli officials were saying we have a priority to destroy these tunnels because 60% of them still remain intact. That doesn't count to the US as them violating the ceasefire. So if you see them blowing up houses, destroying, like leveling buildings, if you see them trying to find tunnels, decommission them, blow them up, that's just like standard ceasefire practice. I mean, we've seen, in Gaza and Lebanon, how even murder is standard ceasefire practice, but these are like nothing. It's like child's play for them. And I just wanted to say that this plan to split Gaza in two, Arab mediators supposedly reject it because they're saying this is like not because the Arabs supposedly are all for a unified Gaza and West Bank living side by side in peace with Israel. Even Hamas and Fatah and other factions now are agreeing on that the West Bank and Gaza should be unified. So yeah, you're right. He could use any excuse to collapse
Yeah,
this.
and
Any
also
excuse.
because the Trump deal happened very fast, and Trump
Yep.
is not that good as a politician, and he doesn't have like enough experience. I think this also what's happening is because uh, what these countries agreed on is not that clear. Yeah, now we are seeing that Israel doesn't want Turkey, although there were talks that Turkey will enter there and Qatar. And now we are seeing that Israel only accepted Egypt, and you
Mm.
have another group which is backed by the UAE. So I think although Gaza is destroyed, I think the Arabs and the Muslims and the countries allied with Israel, they see like Gaza as a cake, and they want to split it between them.
There
it,
was a Yediot Ahronot report like yesterday where that says despite the commitments in the signed agreement, Israeli security assessments shared during a security briefing with the Knesset Foreign Affairs and Defense Committee estimate that Hamas will not hand over its weapons. Okay, this we already know. And then the interesting part was as for the forces that will make up the stabilization force in Gaza, they are expected to come from Indonesia, Azerbaijan, and Pakistan
how
because it seems
very
those are the
interesting.
countries Israel will be comfortable with because it's not comfortable with the Muslim Brotherhood countries of Qatar and Turkey. And guys, we have actually a feature on our website about Pakistan and its possible role in the International Stabilization Force, actually. So we will link that for you, later on.
Indeed,
Kareem,
indeed.
I'll make sure Kareem does that. Yeah.
Yeah, Pakistan, and who is now becoming the guarantor of security as well for the region, inviting other Arab regimes after Saudi Arabia to join this defense pact. Very interesting read. I wanted to mention. I completely lost my train of thought, guys. I'm so sorry, but
Oh
but
no,
I,
it's
I
fine.
I think it's apparent that the ceasefire in Gaza is gonna be everything but just in name, like in Lebanon, like you guys were saying right now. No, it's not just Israel that has standardized murder as an everyday thing. It's the U.S. government as well. Like look at what they're doing in the Caribbean. They've killed like 42 people so far, just complete direct extrajudicial murders, no reason, no. And well, Israel
And
already
most of
normalized it,
them
of
are
course.
poor fishermen.
Exactly, exactly. Right now they're going against anyone who is, I guess, in the way. And now it's not just Hamas that is in the way. It's just like the Palestinians in Gaza who are in the way. What I wanted to ask you was, last week we saw like a revolving door of U.S. officials coming and going from Israel in what was described as a kind of like a hand-holding measure to make sure that Netanyahu didn't violate the ceasefire. I don't think, and correct me if I'm wrong, it doesn't seem like the allies of Netanyahu's government are very happy about this new status quo. And I don't know if Netanyahu himself is very content with the fact that, in one way or another, if at least temporarily, his hands are being held. Right?
Mm.
They are
Hmm.
not allowing him to do what we all know he wants to do. In the end of the day,
Yeah.
yeah. So what have you guys heard from that? Because I haven't actually seen many reports, me personally, lately about what the feeling is with internally within the government or within the army.
There is a degree
هلا
of
before Sima, I just want to answer
yeah,
about Lebanon, and you can continue about Palestine.
yeah.
I think in Lebanon they fully accept what's happening. in Lebanon. I don't think the government have the power or the will to stop the Israelis of what they are doing. Yani just in the past 24 hours, they killed around 10 Lebanese people in different locations in
Around
Lebanon
48
in
hours.
48
Yeah.
hours. And I just want to read yani, what Gats, which is the Minister of War of the Israeli army, told Ortegos, which is the US envoy to our region. He said that he wants to personally express his thanks to Trump and Ortegos for their support and backing of the Israeli policy in protecting the borders and areas towards Lebanon. This and she was next to him. Yani. That means that Trump and his government accepts fully the Israeli role in Lebanon, which is occupying more than 5 points. Unfortunately, also the Lebanese government is very weak and Hezbollah is silent. We don't even know how many points now Israel occupies. Some say 5, some say 8. So they fully back that, and they fully back killing any Lebanese that Israel thinks he's a threat to its national security. And they are fully backing Israel in bombing Lebanon from north to south to east to west. Yani that's the relations between that's the relation between Israel and the United States regarding Lebanon. Full control of Lebanon and no
Freedom of
backing
action.
down.
Freedom of action. Yeah. What were
Yeah,
you gonna say, Simi?
and to answer your question about Israel, I think there is to a degree this feeling in among Israeli officials and in Israeli media that their hands are tied by this like US role of enforcement of the ceasefire. But like I was telling you earlier, there's so much freedom for them within this restricted framework that I don't see it as that much of a crisis. It may be for them because you have, remember, we reported that US troops were coming to Israel to help enforce the ceasefire. They've set up a coordination center, and you have US troops now in the southern district called Kiryat Gat, outside of Gaza, but in the south near the Gaza border. And they are there looking over everything and overseeing everything. And the Israeli officials are feeling like their hands are tied. And Israeli media is complaining that now everything is in the hands of the US and all of our work went to waste. And now it's no longer in our hands. And of course, you have US now flying drones. The US is now flying drones over Gaza
Yes.
itself to monitor the ceasefire, supposedly. But every day Israel is killing in Gaza,
Yes.
actually,
And just a
just
few
last
hours ago,
night. And so what are they monitoring? I'm sorry to cut you off again. What are they monitoring?
no, and just what I
Um,
wanted to add very quickly was that just today,
gathering
Marco
intel.
Rubio gave a statement saying that the bombing on Saturday of the alleged killing of a Palestinian Islamic Jihad official was not a
Hmm,
violation of the ceasefire. He said, "We don't consider this a
exactly.
violation of the ceasefire." And it really goes to show you the level that not just Palestinian lives, just like Arab lives in particular, or just West Asian lives, have been cheapened, dehumanized to the ultimate degree. And it's the same. Again, I will go back to the lives of Venezuelans, to the lives of Colombians, to the lives of anyone that this empire of evil sets their sights on. Our lives are worthless, and they will
Hmm,
literally shrug it off and say, "We don't consider that a violation of a ceasefire. We don't consider that a violation
yeah,
of international law," because at the end of the day, we're just killing animals, right? We're just killing animals. That's how
right.
it's being portrayed, even by by the media. What do we expect from the corporate
Right.
media? At the end of the day,
So I do believe that Israel's hands are tied to a degree, but it still has so much freedom that I don't see it as that's that much of a crisis. Like maybe in the eyes of Ben Gvir and Smotrich, it's a crisis because maybe they cannot resume full-fledged genocide, but everything else, they everything else goes. And we don't have just by the way, yesterday and today. We have Hamas being allowed to go into the Israel controlled areas with the Red Cross. Hamas, Qassam Brigade's fighters, the elite shadow unit to be precise, is accompanying the Red Cross teams into the Israeli controlled areas in Gaza to look for more dead Israeli captives. Some of them even captured as far back as 2014. And so far, there's been no breakthrough. And why is that for the most part? Actually, it's because they're not even letting in the proper equipment for these search operations. So okay, I mean, the aid's trickling in. You have you don't have enough trucks coming in still. You don't have enough equipment coming in. The medical sector is still in tatters.
Nothing.
Everything is still very difficult. Hunger is still an issue, believe it or not. Yes,
Yes.
we have some people getting food, but nothing like where, at what it needs to be at. So you know nothing's yani, everything is for, like, okay, they're not going to bomb the Hamas guys accompanying the Red Cross because, then there's the Red Cross and we can't do that right now. I mean, they could and nothing would happen to them, but
They have.
they're trying to
They have
they
already.
have, of course, but I mean, right now, because some people find it strange that Hamas is like, you know prancing around the Israeli controlled areas, but it's not that simple. They're simply
I mean,
accompanying the
obviously,
Red
this is
Yeah,
Cross.
gonna this
yeah.
causes distaste, I would say, in the Israeli army and with the most extreme elements of the Israeli government. Which, let's be honest, most of it. Same for Israeli society. This is not a society that in 2 years ever really got together and said, "Hey, let's stop doing genocide." They never did, and so they want this freedom of action. What were you gonna say,
Mm,
Karim?
Yeah, I just wanted to say also, yani, even if Israel reignited the war and started to bomb Gaza and even Lebanon and even Iran, yani, what will be the American response? It's also, I don't think it will be that much, yani.
They're gonna keep sending the
mm.
bombs. I feel like
Yeah,
here
exactly.
Charmin would have a completely contrarian take. We miss you, Charmin, by the way, our usual weekly reminder. And thank you to Clifford Bostria before I get continue on. Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much for your
Clifford.
super chat. Thank you so very much. Thank you to everyone who is in the chat. We are still a bit behind on the likes. Please make sure to hit that like button. It really helps.
Just
Go ahead.
yeah, no, Netanyahu, I just pulled this up. Netanyahu denies Washington is dictating actions in Gaza. Israel's a sovereign state. This was yesterday. So this means there's a lot of chatter going on, among the Israeli security and military
He also
establishment.
said something very interesting. Sorry to cut you off, Sima, but that was
No, it's fine.
just before I forget.
Yeah.
After Trump said Israel is not going to annex the West Bank, he said, because we promised the Arab states that they won't, so we'll make sure that they don't. I think just less than a day later, Netanyahu said, like, like that's what he says. We are a sovereign country. We will decide. Like, completely brushed off Trump's comments.
Exactly.
So at some point, this is gonna, be a head-on collision, and it should be very, very interesting what happens then.
Yeah, and since yesterday there was like social media campaign in Hebrew, of course, inside Israel. The title of it was "Where's the sovereign country that you promised?" Yeah, referring to Netanyahu. And now they feel so like how can I say it? So offended, the Israelis, because the Americans like ask them to do something. They are usually like
Compliant.
yeah,
Yes, sir.
yeah. No, no. Usually they are yani, they are fed and they are taught that they rule the world. And then how come now Trump can come and tell us what to do? So they are so pissed,
Did you
after
guys, by
killing
the
all
way,
these people and bombing all their countries. That's what made them upset.
This is a bit completely out of left field, but just made me. You just reminded me of this, Karim. There was an independent from the UK. The UK Independent a few weeks ago had this article that cited multiple polls that showed that about a third of US citizens believe Donald Trump is an envoy of God. He is a messenger of God, and he's doing God's work. So, like, if Israelis wonder, like, why is this man telling us what to do? Well, apparently, according to a third of the people in the US, is because he's an envoy of God. He was sent by God himself.
Yeah.
So, but you guys, yeah, I mean, so just about Netanyahu, the quote that I found funny.
Sima, just 1 minute, because you asked me to put the Sky News article,
And
but
you completely forgot?
no, I put it, but we didn't give it like its time. I just put it now, just to show the people the difference between the UAE backed militias in
Oh,
Yemen
the
and
logos.
the logos. Just يعني,
Right. So again, for anyone who wasn't on, this is from an exclusive Sky News investigation on four militias being backed by Israel with a role by the UAE and an indirect role of the Palestinian Authority. And two of these militias have almost identical logos to those of UAE-backed mercenaries in Yemen. So you can see how similar those two are. And that's aside from the fact that we have a lot of UAE license plates on vehicles in Gaza being used by these militias. So
1%. And
there
of
you
course,
go.
they have the same role is to divide the communities and to kill everybody who's against Israel.
I wanted when we were talking about this, I forgot. I just wanted to ask you how does Yasser Abu Shabab know all of the good smuggling routes? You know, the Wall Street Journal is the commentator, and the Washington Post also had an opinion article by some other militia member in Gaza. Like the way they're whitewashing these people, it's really
Right.
it's I don't know if it's shocking is the right word, but it's at least very very horrid.
No, definitely. I don't know what's. Let's see what happens with this because you also have Hamas saying that it's preparing for the largest yet crackdown on mercenaries and collaborators. We reported on that a few days ago. Don't know what's going to happen with that, right? But these groups, guys, have been around for a long time, and their roles are only more refined in a time of war or genocide as we are. But these are the same militias who okay, there are also the clans we discussed last episode, but these are the same militias who have looted aid, spread disinformation, and provided tons of intelligence to Israeli occupation
And they
forces.
were
And
firing
Hamas has
also
been,
on Palestinian aid seekers at the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. It wasn't just
also
Israeli troops
definitely,
firing at them; it was also
or
Palestinians,
US
collaborators,
mercenaries.
and U.S. mercenaries. Yes,
True,
let's thank
true.
let's thank Lisa Holt BY for their super chat. They said for the boys only. Sima will understand. Thank you so much. We don't get
Thank
we
you.
don't get the love that we deserve sometimes when it's just us
It's
dudes
true.
here.
You need to
Okay,
give them more love, guys.
so
No, look, I don't want to harp on the U.S. Israel relationship, but I just found the quote
go
very
ahead.
funny because remember when Tucker Carlson came out, I think it was on, I forgot the name of the show with Glenn Greenwald, and he came out and he was like, Netanyahu's running around telling everyone that he owns the US and he controls the US
Yeah.
government. So Netanyahu yesterday was like, when I was in Washington, people said I control the American government, that I dictate its security policy. Now they claim the opposite, that the American administration controls me and dictates Israel's security policy. Neither is true. Well, yeah, because y'all are like one and the same thing.
They're the same. That they're the same. You know, it's so
So
dishonest to talk about the two as if they're two separate countries. You know, one's a sovereign nation. No, they're the same
definitely.
thing. They're the
Yeah,
same thing. I want us to move on a bit, guys, because I want to talk in particular, and just to stick with the topic of Palestine. Last week, Al Jazeera aired this documentary, and we talked about it here in the podcast about the murder of Hind Rajab, in particular, and they named 24 Israeli soldiers. And then a few hours later, the Hind Rajab Foundation, by the way, we have an interview with the director of the Hind Rajab Foundation, Diab Abu Jaja, at the Cradle. Go look it up. Very interesting from last year. But the HRF announced that that they have taken 24 Israeli soldiers and commanders to the ICC for her murder. They named, the 24 perpetrators. Some of them dual nationals who are also facing charges in national courts. As we know, the Hind Rajab Foundation is not just about taking, these cases to the ICC or to the ICJ. They want to activate national courts who have the jurisdiction to prosecute war criminals, and these people are nothing but war criminals. Um, we should see what happens with the ICC. With the ICC, it's being sanctioned by the U.S. Its prosecutors, its judges are being sanctioned for the crime of attempting to uphold international law. Same from Francesca Albanese. Same for Gustavo Petro. Today, you face sanctions if you speak the truth, if you speak on the side of humanity. But I find this a very important
it is.
item in particular because, well, we not without good reason we often, I feel like the narrative in general is centered around Benjamin Netanyahu and a U.S. president, whoever that is at the point, and the head of the IDF, etc. But the reality is that you have thousands and thousands of soldiers, many of them dual nationalities, holding dual nationalities, who are responsible for committing genocide, the crime of crimes, an ethnic cleansing campaign that is being live that was, or I guess in some cases it still is, being live streamed, not just by the victims, but by the perpetrators themselves. The Hind Rajab Foundation really has, they do marvelous work. They do marvelous work, but a lot of it is thanks to the fact that Israeli soldiers themselves would post their crimes on social media. How many images do we have of these criminals doing the most horrible things in Gaza? So now, international law needs, it might be it might be something that was buried in Gaza along with the thousands and thousands of people who are still under the rubble. But if there's no justice for the Palestinians, there's not going to be any justice for anyone, right? Like, let's just close up shop and give up from now. But thankfully, there's groups like the Hind Rajah Foundation who are, keeping this hope alive. And before I let you guys go on, thank you so much, Dr. Susan Jacob, for your super chat. She says for SEMA only, and Exor bro, I think that's how you pronounce it. Also, thank you so much. Thank you so much for your super chat.
Yep. No, I think it's really important because we've seen so much of um, all throughout the past year, especially we've seen all of these soldiers being tracked, and I think it's played like a really huge role in having like they don't really feel safe anymore when they're traveling around the world at all, and it's because they are more likely than not prone to being you know having to be held accountable,
Yeah,
and there's a lot of people putting in so much work just to be able to archive all of this and identify all of these soldiers. And again, like you said, this isn't about like, oh, but it's the army gave them the orders and they're just execute. Like, no, like these people are willingly we're willingly finding their own creative ways to commit horrible crimes. Like they may have had a green light, but they're the ones who chose to do what they did.
I mean,
And
the
yeah.
reports from Gaza, from Israeli commanders themselves who have spoken with Hebrew media, with Haaretz, Ynet, etc., they have multiple times said that the troops are operating without control. They do as they want. Remember the many
Mm-hmm.
cases in which they would open fire randomly and end up, hitting some of their comrades, some of their, other Israeli soldiers who were there in Gaza. They would just open fire out of boredom. They, like the line of bodies in the Netzarim corridor, the killing of the first responders when they, tried to bury the ambulance along with the 15 first responders in the south of Gaza, the flattening of Rafah. I mean, honestly, again, props to the Hind Rajah Foundation. They really are doing the work that needs to be done at this time. And they're not just, it's not like the Hind Rajah Foundation is just like this one entity. They are working with lawyers across the world to do this,
Yep.
and they must be protected. They must their work must be spread around because people need to know that there is at the very least an attempt to seek accountability, and then it will fall at the hands of the courts. We saw last week that the International Court of Justice also ruled against all of Israel's complaints, or what they saw as that they did. At the court, the ICJ said Israel has to allow aid in. They cannot use hunger as a weapon of war. Well, pronouncements that then are, the Israelis just kind of laugh about and go about their business. But yeah, I just wanted to bring up these two cases because they
They will
really
tell
are
you no,
important.
there is no hunger. Only like terrorists are being
Or it's
hungry.
Hamas that's still in the aid.
They really
Also,
are a super filthy people. Whenever there's like any Palestinian in Gaza who gets his hands on something nice to eat, the Israelis will have a field day with it. Be like, see, they're lying. They have food. You see? Because there'd be like one area in Gaza where there's one cafe still standing and they're making like croissant or like desserts. They'll be like, you see, they're lying. Look, they're just fine. Look at all the stuff they're enjoying. And it's like, wow.
No, and even I don't know if you have the map again, Karim, of the yellow line of the gangs. But remember that when they would have the influencer tours, and even Ortagos and Mike Huckabee and somebody else, I think Steve Witkoff, would like tour Gaza right before the ceasefire, and they would be taken to the camp where Yasser Abu Shabab and his gang members and their families would, of course, have aid, would have security, would have the protection of the Israelis. They would have like these boxes stacked of the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, and then you had, Witkoff and Huckabee being like, "Oh my God, look, there's no famine in Gaza." So if you're wondering why are they pushing for these militias and this idea that there's two Gazas, a safe one and an unsafe one, well, they've been doing it already for quite some time now.
Yeah, for sure. By the way, there was one thing you mentioned. You mentioned yesterday that they did a strike on supposedly the Palestinian Islamic Jihad. I just wanted to point out that they denied that, and there were no reports of any like members being killed. Because usually when there are, they come out, and we know that's the thing is that
Mhm.
sometimes when Israel says it targeted resistance members, it really did. And we have the proof for that because reports come out that they've been martyred, but other times they just simply haven't. And yesterday may have been one of those times. I just wanted to point that out. And I think that I wanted to very quickly, just for our viewers, before we move on, maybe to Lebanon and other things, really quickly, I just wanted to remind everyone that what's happening in the West Bank is getting worse.
Mhm.
Not just settler attacks, but army raids. There were at least 40 people abducted and detained just last night alone. Okay, that's according to the Palestinian Prisoners Club. Between West Bank and Jerusalem. Among them was a child and detainees who had been freed, being detained. So there was
Yeah,
a massive wave of
not
overnight
only
raids
that,
and arrests.
they are even destroying nature and olive
Of course,
trees and
they're uprooting dozens of olive trees across the West Bank, dozens. And this is happening every day. There was a video the other day of, I forgot to send it to you to pull it up, Karim, of a settler beating a Palestinian farmer in front of his wife, and the soldiers just standing there, letting the settler assault him. Anyway, this is happening every day. The PA is fully complicit in Jenin. That Jenin refugee camp was essentially destroyed by the Israelis, and Tulkarem refugee camp. We are seeing resistance activity around Jenin again, in the towns and villages in Jenin. And also, we have a lot of reports that the PA are detaining hundreds of young men, including resistance leaders, whether it's in Jenin or in Jericho. And other cities, and among them are actually the PA themselves, on behalf of Israel, is holding 46 resistance fighters from the PIJ's Sarai al-Quds in Jenin, the Quds brigades in Jenin. And this is, again, today is the 280th day of Israel's assault on Jenin, and it hasn't stopped. I just wanted to bring that up. A lot of people who are freed are being re-arrested. The PA is fully complicit. Yeah, just wanted to give you that update before we move on.
Yeah, and while the attention is in Gaza, as of course it needs to be or it has been, well, they will continue to commit crimes elsewhere. But yeah, let's briefly talk about the situation in Lebanon, where, as we said a few minutes ago, they've killed a couple of more people today in airstrikes. The count over 48 hours, as Sima said, is about 10 people so far that have been murdered. Just absolute freedom of action in
Yeah.
action from the government. We've seen questions here, and I would like to hear your guys' thoughts about it. What's the situation with Hezbollah? What is the situation with Hezbollah? There's been reports that they are rearming, that they are reconstituting their forces. There's been very heavy airstrikes in Algeria, missile sites.
Hmm.
Um, what's true?
Um,
What isn't?
All right. Well, I mean, we have to go based off of where the Israeli narrative aligns with the Hezbollah narrative. So we have had
Mm.
Hezbollah officials, MPs say in the last 2 weeks that they have rebuilt their capabilities. And so when the Israeli comes out and says Hezbollah is rebuilding, it's not necessarily propaganda to bomb Lebanon. It's very likely true. I just
Mhm.
want to say you have to see where the two meet. And when you see both sides are saying, not that I consider them equal sides, don't get me wrong, but when both of them are saying the same thing, there's most likely some truth to it. Before we talk about it, I'm sure Karim has a lot to say. Uh, Again, it's around 8 people in the past 48 hours, over 20 people since the beginning of October. Okay, we have a whole list here, with just the exception of a couple missing. A lot of people, a lot of them, yes, a lot of them are Hezbollah commanders. A lot of them are Hezbollah commanders. And this brings up the question, are these people that they had intel on before? Do they just, is their tech so good that whenever anyone's driving around in a car they can just assassinate? I mean, we had one case where a commander was assassinated, and then the next day another member of Hezbollah who was going to attend his funeral was assassinated on the way to attending the other guy's funeral. I mean, imagine. It is, guys, like a few months ago it was not this frequent. Now every day you see more than one assassination. And again, I'm not saying it's always Hezbollah members, but a lot of them are Hezbollah members. So again, over 20 people. Just now, a short while ago, in Tyre, in Soud, two were killed in a drone strike. We haven't verified who they are yet. Yesterday, we had Hezbollah members and civilians killed. There was a Syrian national, nothing to do with Hezbollah. He was killed in a strike in uh, in the south. So you have strikes in the south, strikes in eastern Lebanon, in the Beqa and in Baalbek. And really, I mean, everyone has their own theory. I don't like to speculate a lot about why it's so. I mean, I don't think they're carrying cell phones. I think there are other ways to to reach them and to assassinate them. We have to keep in mind that they have this upper hand in this situation, but everyone's very alarmed. Okay, everyone is very alarmed, and this is aside from them expanding on the ground. They are expanding on the ground. Everyone's like, why is Hezbollah not responding? Why is Hezbollah not responding? The Secretary General Naim Qasim had an interview yesterday, and he said we're still in this phase where if we respond now, then the government's going to be like, oh, you destroyed our project, you ruined our plans, so we're not going to do it now. He didn't say that they were never going to respond, but he said that right now we're not, and it's really alarming to see this because it comes when there is this chatter of a renewed full scale campaign on Lebanon, and there is last week we had European sources warning that there was an extensive Israeli attack on Lebanon imminent. And this kind of escalation looks like something that could turn into that. I'm not saying it's 100% what's going to happen, nor am I saying the war ever stops, because this ceasefire has been almost a year now of this ceasefire. And we've seen what's happened. We've had expansion of occupation on the ground. We've had they've killed almost 400 people in this 1 year since the ceasefire took effect. We have the attack against anyone trying to rebuild, anyone trying to clear rubble, the destruction of homes, attacking near schools. So I mean, do can we say for sure that something huge is coming? No, but there is so much chatter, and it may not be fear mongering. There may be something to it. So either there's something coming, or this is just an escalation because, as you guys may remember, the government took a decision to monopolize the weapons, to like keep them, restrict them to the state, and so the army has to supposedly disarm Hezbollah by the end of this year, which means the end of December. We are almost into November now, so I don't know how that's going to happen. Another thing we have is, according to Hebrew news site Carmel, the head of Egyptian intelligence arrived in Beirut carrying a message to the Lebanese authorities stating that Israel will escalate if the government fails to disarm non-state actors, including Amal and Hezbollah. And a lot Israeli media in general is sounding the alarm over Hezbollah's rearming, reorganizing, Hezbollah's next moves. There is the Hebrew website Wallah, who says Israeli intelligence believes that Hezbollah is currently conducting a very deep internal review of the recent confrontation in order to develop a new combat strategy for the next confrontation. And they are doing this with Iranian help, according to this report. And Israeli assessments also acknowledge that although Hezbollah took very significant hits, they scored certain battlefield successes that they intend to build on. So they are apparently working on boosting offensive and defensive capabilities to prepare for another large scale confrontation. And this involves precision missiles, long range rockets, and expanded drone operations, including Hezbollah's Unit 127, which operates drones. And, they did some very impressive drone work actually last year during the war on Lebanon. Anyway, that unit is reportedly scaling up activity, according to this report, and using multiple points across Lebanon. And so this is an Israeli report, but I would say it's not completely based in fiction, And Israel's military intelligence directorate Amman is apparently, you saw them, Esteban, simulating like an October 7th style attack last week, and they're doing all these drills for the north. Um, we have something, And then there was also, last thing, I'm sorry for yapping on, but the Jerusalem Center for Foreign Affairs warns that Hezbollah is preparing for a second round. So this is yet another report. And Israel must beware of the trap. What's the trap? We can't enter Lebanon on the ground because we will lose that way.
I
So
feel
we
like
can only bomb them by the air. And we
I,
have a former colonel who says like that we can't fall into that trap. We have to hit them again, but without going in on the ground. So you guys tell me. I mean, what do you think?
I feel like it's apparent and it's obvious that any action taken by Hezbollah now or in the near future is going to set off a trap. It's a trap. From the moment they signed the ceasefire, this was a trap trying to get Hezbollah to act in any way that would allow the Israelis, they give them the excuse that they need to take the south of Lebanon or whatever. Now they have this Daesh army in the east as well, in the east of Lebanon, that will help them in any way that they see fit. So it's very frustrating, to see at the same time that you can this like the questioning, right? Like, why isn't Hezbollah doing anything? And it's like, well, because this government that was elected or imposed via force, via war, via a completely uh, one-sided ceasefire has made it very clear that they have a plan, and that they, they cannot let the resistance forces undo whatever it is that this government has done, which I still wonder exactly what is it that they
Th-
have done.
this alleged progress they've made. Yes.
Exactly. What progress? I'm not
Okay.
sure. I
Yes,
mean,
I don't know.
like Lebanon really is a country
We
that,
have UAE tourists now in Lebanon.
oh, well, bravo. Bravo,
That's the
Joseph,
progress.
Aoun,
Yeah,
Nawaf
they
That's
have
Salam.
such
1 million population.
I
Like
hope you get
10% are
reelected next
coming
year.
here. Yeah,
that's
5%.
such a Karim comment. Like
Wallah,
I know,
tell
but
me
I'm just saying.
another thing. Ma, When
No,
the
there's no other progress.
when the
There's no other
UAE
progress.
when the UAE plane came to Lebanon, they put it on all TVs and they got them like dancers and flowers
Yeah, I
and
remember how they
open buffet.
welcomed them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, it's guys, it's a catastrophic situation.
So my view
Yeah.
Go
over
ahead.
Hezbollah and the future for Hezbollah, I think o- I know many viewers know that I always criticize Hezbollah, and for me the strategic patience was a complete fail. But uh, there is no danger from Israel on Hezbollah. يعني if Israel keeps bombing 100 years, there will be Hezbollah, there will be supporters of Hezbollah, and Israel will not be able to enter
Yeah.
South Lebanon. That's for me 100%. Even if Syria and the UAE and Saudi Arabia send their army, they can. For me, the problem that Hezbollah is facing and will face, and the real danger of the existence of Hezbollah is Lebanese internal affairs. This
Yes.
is the dangerous part, and they have to take actions. No need to be military actions, يعني political actions, uh, uh, actions in court, in media. They can take actions, but unfortunately, I don't think if they are taking actions, I don't think they are enough. I know 100% sure that Hezbollah is waiting for the next elections because Hezbollah take elections very seriously, and they build upon the elections and they build upon what the declaration that comes after the elections here in Lebanon. When we make an election, the election, sorry, there will be like a declaration of what the state of Lebanon is and the future of Lebanon is. So they take this so seriously, which is they should change it. They should take actions now, not wait for the next year, although the next year is very near, because what's happening in Lebanon, you'll see many people accusing Hezbollah of everything, and they are really shifting the mentality of the Lebanese. Why? Because there is no one from Hezbollah or even supporter of Hezbollah going and saying otherwise. And for instance, now anybody can curse Sayyid Hassan, can say that Hezbollah is illegal. They can say that Hezbollah is a terrorist organization. They will say that Hezbollah killed Rafik al-Hariri, Hezbollah destroyed the country, Hezbollah stole the money, and you will see no actions. There is nothing. Yani they are not even defending. They are not sending like their lawyers and like going to the court for such false accusations. They are doing nothing, and
Mm.
now people are they are emboldened. Yeah,
Emboldened,
are,
sure.
yeah, they are emboldened of carrying weapons to fight Hezbollah, or anybody now can go to the north and like make a militia and say, okay, this is against Hezbollah to protect ourselves, and the government is only moving against people that are with Hezbollah. The other people, خلاص, it's no problem. Now we have Fadel Shakir, who's like a very famous Lebanese singer who is like an extremist, and he went to jail because he had like he was part of a organization that killed Lebanese army like I think like 8 or 9 years ago, and now he's gonna go out of that jail. Sorry, he's not jailed. He was sorry, he disappeared in some camps of Palestinian camps in Lebanon, and now he's now surfaced, and now he has video clips and he's singing. Although he was an Islamist extremist whose words led to killing of Lebanese and Lebanese army. And now there's like a big campaign to take out all Islamist extremists from the prisoners, meaning that people that were with ISIS and and Nusra and all these people that made explosions in Lebanon and killed many civilians. Now we are in the process in Lebanon to release them all, and Hezbollah nothing.
Let's
Yeah.
So
let's
so
not
this is what
forget.
frustrates me the most now. Not Israel. Okay, I understand there was a battle. We lost this battle. For me, we lost it big time. But this is a battle, and we will continue because the history tells us that in 1978, Israel managed uh, to reach south of Beirut. Then they were repelled, and 1982 they succeeded, and then they were repelled, and they occupied the south for around 22 years, and then it was liberated, and 2006, and now. So there's always constant battles between
Yeah.
the real
Let's
Arabs and Israel. But what's happening in internal affairs is very dangerous. Sorry, everybody.
make sure to
Maybe
hit
the
that like
government heard
button.
me.
Make sure
Yeah.
to subscribe to our
Yeah.
Patreon. As you can see, the power situation in Beirut, it's very
I
come and
mean,
go. I wanted to mention
what?
very quickly, just let's not
Yeah, go
forget
ahead.
the Al Akbar report from a few weeks ago that said that the internal security in Lebanon dismantled a terrorist plot led by Israel that sought to detonate multiple car bombs across
Mhm.
Lebanon on the day of the commemoration of Hassan Nasrallah's assassination. The aim here is civil war completely.
Yeah. No, listen, I think that Karim is correct in that they're not mobilizing politically against their opponents, and so their opponents are feeling emboldened. This is a very big, very important point. And Karim is also right in saying that no matter what Israel does, Hezbollah will not give up its weapons and will not cease to exist. So for everyone in the comments who's always like, "Oh, it's so depressing, everything's so depressing," don't be too depressed. Like Hezbollah isn't going anywhere. If even Karim the Doomer says so, I mean, Karim is talking like Secretary General of Hezbollah today. They're on the same page.
They're the
Uh,
same
they're
wavelength.
on the
Yeah.
same page today. So yeah, I mean, they are kind of in this. They're like they're still right now. They're just like at a standstill, and we don't know what's going to happen next. Again, there's all this chatter of this huge war happening again on Lebanon, and
I think, yeah, I
on
feel like it's
yeah.
inevitable. Where there's smoke, there's fire, and
Yeah.
Hezbollah
I
has
mean, I
not
was
been taken care of.
criticizing yesterday because you have these like commentators and analysts who go on in the media and they are like aligned with the axis of resistance. And they're always like, no, there's no war. There's no war. Like they rule out there being another war when it's like you did the same thing before September 2024 and you were very badly embarrassed after that. Why not just keep all possibilities on the table instead of making a fool of yourself again? Like, who are you to rule out that that's going to happen again? Like, we don't know. Maybe this is just an escalation as a pressure tactic and there isn't a full fledged campaign. And maybe it's leading to something very big and very terrible. Like, who are you to come out and be like, oh no, they wouldn't, they know that they won't launch a war because the last time they couldn't achieve what they wanted to achieve through war. So now they'll try a different way. Like, you don't know anything. They might go, and the Secretary General of Hezbollah said that yesterday, by the way, in the interview. He said, look, I can't say for sure that there isn't. I don't think that there will be because they won't be able to achieve what they want through war. They couldn't last time, but it is possible that they will want to try again. So, he's even, no one's ruling it out. Who are you to rule it out? Like, don't
Exactly.
rule it out.
We
Don't
have
rule it
some
out.
complaints here in the chat about our sound level being very low. I hear everyone perfectly, and then whenever we watch the episode back, it always sounds correct. So I don't know. Hopefully, it's not an issue that is happening to everyone. But thank you so much for staying here. Make sure to hit that like button. You guys brought up ISIS, and that brings us to our good friend Ahmad al-Shara, president of Syria, who is he's already in Saudi Arabia, right? He's already there for the Riyadh Economic Conference. I forget the actual name of it.
Yeah. There's like
Uh,
roundtable discussions right now
yeah, yeah.
happening.
Like this man truly the leader that any country should want. Apparently, he gets all the money, he gets all the sanctions lifted. Syria really a debacle, a situation in which the sectarian killings continue, the kidnappings, etc. We have many articles about it. I think we have a couple of features also coming up soon about these topics, so make sure to check those out. But yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know if
Sorry,
you guys
Stefan.
go
Just
ahead.
yeah, because now we have five commands. They are saying, "I hear everyone. I hear you very well. The sound level is normal, and everybody is hearing." Maybe the guy has a problem. It's not from our side.
Well, and even if you have a problem, I hope you stick with us. So yeah,
Yeah,
Someone says they're unsubscribing.
yeah. This guy, but everybody under him, they said that.
Allah ma'ak. That means God be with you. Sorry.
Indeed, we should
Continue.
have a T-shirt. We should have a T-shirt. Like, oh, by the way, check out our merch page. I always forget to bring it up. We have merch. We have Cradle merch. You can get your own Cradle merch. It's very cool stuff. But yeah, I'm trying to look up exactly if Shara is in Riyadh right now.
He
But
is. I think there's a photo. There is. I'll find it for you.
yeah, let me look it up. Let me see what he's doing. He's going to the Riyadh Investment Conference. I mean, I don't even know what to say. Like, unfortunately, this is the world we live in. This ISIS head chopper
Oh,
is
it wasn't him. I thought it was him. It was just another guy with a beard. I'm so sorry.
Sima,
I
you're
thought
so racist.
But look there, but no, but the Syrian delegation is there in Riyadh to discuss the financial sector and communications and e-transformation and investment. I don't know if Shara himself he's probably there, but
he's very interesting. Because this is what I wanted to mention because a few days ago, and we also have a report about this. The World Bank estimated that the cost of reconstruction in Syria is 216 billion to reconstruct Syria after a war that was fabricated and that truly destroyed the country. But now, Ahmed al Shara, I'm sure, and he's a very diversity friendly government. It's going to bring about change. It's,
Yeah,
yeah, go ahead.
it's sad. No, no, nothing. It's sad. There was free healthcare, free education, free. Yeah, most of the basic human rights in Syria was free before the imposed war in Syria. Now look, and the sad thing that you will see that some Syrians are very happy with what happened. No, it's good for the future, which is I can't understand.
maybe
And
they're right and you're wrong. Let's wait and see.
hopefully, I
Karim
won't
is
be sad
often
if I'm
wrong.
wrong. Yeah.
No, no, it's a horrible situation, and just to bring it all back, because we really are seeing something here. We're seeing kind of this onslaught on the entire world. It's not just about Gaza anymore or Syria or Lebanon. It's not West Asia anymore. The war on terrorism has really become globalized. Now, war is threatening everywhere. The United States, it's very clearly reconfiguring its standing in the world, right? They have kind of, I don't know if it's correct to say that they have put a confrontation with China on the back burner, but they are at the very least taking a different approach. And that is also why you see this like Shara in Syria and this government, this ineffective government in Lebanon, and the militias in Gaza trying to portray one side of Gaza being safe and the other being unsafe. The sanctions on Iran, we should really mention the sanctions on Iran and this posture that China and Russia took a few days ago, in which they say we do not recognize the snapback sanctions on Iran. So now at the UN Security Council, you essentially have four players, that being US, France, Germany, and the UK, saying UN security sanctions on Iran are legal and they need to be enforced. And then you have two other permanent members, Russia and China, saying the complete opposite, saying these are not enforceable, these are illegal, and we will completely disregard them. It's a posture like we haven't really seen before, this like head to head confrontation in an international organization. And at the same time, you have the United States acting like a mafia, like thugs, deploying ships to the Caribbean, killing poor fishermen, killing dozens of them, extrajudicial murders, threatening war against Venezuela using lies, saying Venezuela is flooding US streets with fentanyl, when US drug agencies themselves have determined that the fentanyl does not come from Venezuela, that Venezuela does not produce fentanyl, and that the UN reports have shown that only about 5% of the cocaine that is trafficked to the US exits through Venezuelan shores. So it's all a lie. It's the weapons of mass destruction. It's the lies about Libya. It's the lies about Syria. It's the lies about Afghanistan, about Lebanon, about Gaza. It's these lies are being spread all over the world now to start this war that at the end of the day, what it's going to do is reconfigure alliances, right? It's going to make sure that the Western Hemisphere is under the control of the US as the hegemon, meanwhile, trying to hurt China as much as possible. The BRI, the BRICS as well. What's happening in Venezuela and Colombia is really a direct threat to Brazil, one of the founding members of the BRICS. So it's I don't see it stopping anytime soon. I see Donald Trump is just he has his foot on the pedal. This man hasn't been in power for a year, and we're still we can barely keep up with everything that's happening. He's supposed to meet with Xi Jinping at the end of this month in South Korea. Trump right now is in Japan after attending the ASEAN summit, which, to be honest, before we started this podcast, I was looking for news about what happened with him at the ASEAN. There's really nothing of consequence, nothing that matters. It's just a lot of like the usual a lot of love, I guess. I don't know if that's the correct word. A lot of bowing down to Emperor Trump, but then nothing of substance, nothing of matter. And you have him saying, we're very close to a trade deal with China after China imposed all of these rare earth export restrictions. And they're really taking it slow, the Chinese. They don't have to come at the US like the US comes at them. They have more tools, they have more time. Even with all of the tariffs, the China's GDP and their trade continues to grow. So this is the great power game, as Charmin likes to call it. And everything that we talk about here, to the smaller details in Gaza and in Lebanon, to the war in Venezuela and elsewhere, to the larger topics, it all has the same aim, which is to bifurcate the world. You're either with us or you're against us. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts about that. I just needed to rant about it for a moment.
No,
Yeah,
I agree. Yeah.
yeah. I think if they are going to bomb Venezuela, I'm just afraid to see the same scenario that happened in the Arab world. In the Arab world, every country thought that they are safe. Now they will bomb. Now they will bomb Iraq, so we are safe. Now they will bomb Syria, and eventually now everybody is bombed. Sudan was divided to two countries. Libya is divided to three countries. In Syria, nobody knows how many countries they will divide it. Unfortunately, Iraq is divided into two countries. Even Iran was bombed. Yemen is divided, and Qatar even was bombed. So I'm telling this to everybody, to even Mexican, Venezuelans, Colombians, uh, Brazilians, Ecuadorians, people from Peru, people from Uruguay, and even Argentina and Chile. Don't think that if they bomb Venezuela, they will only bomb Venezuela. They will not do all this strategy only for one country. They are coming to the continent if they started, and they have to be one, and they will not should not allow Israel, sorry, the Americans, which is the same, to allow them to use their airspace. Even if you're a Brazilian who hates
Lula
Venezuela,
or Venezuela.
and even if you are a Colombian who hates Venezuela, you should not allow this, because eventually you will catch the fire, even if you want it or not.
I mean, I will always point to Brown University's Cost of War project and the reports from the past few years in which they show with evidence that the U.S. war on terrorism has killed about 5 million people worldwide and displaced 20 million more. And yet, and I speak with the shame of being a Latin American living in this time. And by shame, I mean because you have way too many people who are still pro-war, and way too many people who are saying yes, the U.S. should come because the U.S. is going to help us and is going to oust this narco dictator or something or other. And you know what happened in Afghanistan when the U.S. was there? They were trafficking more opioids, more heroin than the rest of the world, 9 times over, 9 times as much as the rest of the world under the CIA, under CIA control. What happened in Colombia? Colombia has 8 U.S. military bases, has been fighting the war on drugs for about 30 years now, and it's just been as genocide of farmers and of environmental defenders. Venezuela, if we are really at a crossroads here, and we cannot tell what's going to happen. But the moment the US comes in and starts bombing Venezuela, or tries to take Caracas, tries to invade by ground, as Trump kind of suggested the other day, it's either going to turn into the next Libya or it's going to turn into the next Vietnam, and we really don't know which one is going to be.
Yeah, 100%, because the same they did in Iraq and in Syria. Iraq from 1990, 91 to 2003, I think 12 years. complete sanctions. They weakened everybody. They put their spies inside and their collaborators, and then they invaded. And the same did in Syria after 14 years of war and sanctions. They took it in 1 second. And now Sharia, the first thing he did, he went to Saudi Arabia and met Trump. Although Sharia or Al Julani was supported by the extremists because he said that he's willing to kill Americans, and he said it on TV. And now what's happening is that everybody that was in Sharia and is still in Idlib, he's either being kidnapped by Sharia forces, killed by an airstrike by the Americans. Although I always mention this because nobody in Western media is talking about it. The United States every week is killing ISIS or Nusra members that were in Sharia in Idlib. Till now, they are making him the ultimate power in Syria. I'm not against the killing of these people, but the result of this is Sharia will be the ultimate leader. Nobody will stand against him. That's my vision of what's happening
They really
because
is.
what's
And they
happening
want,
is not logical.
for every
Yes.
country that doesn't already have a subservient leader, they are dying to put a Shara there. They're dying to have their own Julani, the Venezuelan Julani, Maria Corina Machado.
They have I forgot his name, the guy who looks like Obama
Where?
in Venezuela. The guy
Who looks
who
like Guaido, the guy who the
yeah,
self-declared
yeah.
president, the guy who declared.
He's ready, man. He's ready. It's okay.
No,
He's ready.
he's burnt out, man. Now they have the Nobel Peace
You
Prize
think so?
winner. Please, Karim. She won the Nobel Peace Prize.
Okay. Yeah,
Um,
bringing a woman will be nice.
well, yeah, they didn't get Kamala, so at least now they will put her in Venezuela. In any case, guys, unless you have something else to add, I want to thank everyone who joined us today. Thank you so much. Make sure to leave your like, to leave a comment, especially after the stream ends. Just make sure to leave a comment. That really, really helps with the YouTube algorithm. This is a very serious situation right now with censorship. Channels are getting shadow banned or just blacklisted. So we need all of your support. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't. Check out our memberships here in YouTube, and also please check out our Patreon where you can become a direct supporter of the Cradle. Thank you to everyone who's already become
Thank
a member
you.
of the Patreon, and we'll see you on Thursday. Thank you also, Karim and Sima. A pleasure as always.
Thank you all. Bye bye.
Oh, we have a lot of patrons. Bravo.
Yeah.